Did you know the Maxx had a secret Halloween special in 1994? A comic book special. No more intros, I promise. Well, maybe this one. Now, the astute observer will notice something about this cover. It says, troll up there. I've had this comic book for a few years. I found it in a dollar bin. But these I've had since the oversaturated comic book market days of the early 1990s. That's not me complaining. I love that I can find all these in dollar bins. As to the Halloween special, 'tis the season and such. As to that troll guy and the word troll above the moon, I was excited. As I already said, as a kid, I was a big troll fan and had all these. Add this Halloween special, and you have every comic book with his name above the marquee. Now, there was an extreme Christmas special, but his name wasn't on the cover. He later joined Youngblood, but again, as far as having his name on top, this is a complete collection, I think. Like I said, I was a big fan, perhaps the biggest. I read and reread all these comics, took all kinds of notes, did some research, as much as you can do with Troll. There's only so much out there. I even dug out my old Youngblood comics. None of the ones I have feature Troll though. Troll joined in issue 6, I think. I don't know for sure as I don't have it. But in the future, I hope to do a deep dive into Troll. At least as deep a dive as you're able to do with Troll. I mean, it's Troll. And yes, he does very much look like Wolverine. And Penny pointed out, he does look a lot like Beast too. I mean, when you look at it, you just see it. It's right there. Like, that's why I bought this probably when I saw it. Hey, that little guy looks like Wolverine. He has the haircut, smokes cigars, has a surly attitude. Again, I hope to talk about it in more depth as I continue my research. As much as I'm able to do. In the midst of this shallow dive into the Troll lore, I noticed something about the cover. To the Troll Halloween special, it has a guest star. The Maxx? We need to talk about the Maxx. The Maxx first appeared in darker image in 1993. And I swear I have that comic, but I can't find it for the life of me. Maybe I threw it when I tossed the Youngblood comic. I'm sure I'd find one in every dollar bin, in every comic shop in a 5-mile radius with that awesome trading card. And that is not an insult. Again, these image comics and this darker, edgy stuff was just ubiquitous in the early 90s. As to the Maxx TV series, it was an extremely faithful adaptation of the comic books, at least the first, maybe, 10, 11 issues, and aired on MTV in 1995. And it really did feel like the comic book come to life. It had a huge influence on a book I just published, and honestly, I didn't even think about it until I was working on this video. Maxx looks and feels dirty, gritty, which is the nature of Sam Kieth's art. I was first drawn to the Maxx creator Sam Kieth's art through Marvel Comics Presents. It was superheroes I was familiar with, but with art that had a visceral nature that made it more adult. I honestly felt like I shouldn't be reading it, and in the case of the Maxx, maybe I shouldn't have been. It's heavy, it's dark, and yet also cartoonish. A little bit like Raw Bakshi, but more focused. Max is homeless and Julie's a social worker. The villain is Mr. Gone, a serial murderer who does other bad things. I'll just leave it at that for the sake of this video. And I'll be honest, as a kid, I don't think I got the implications of what those other bad things were. We learn of Outback. The darker image story actually starts there. Julie exists there as the Jungle Queen, and Maxx protects her in both worlds. Our world, or I guess the real world, or the real world in the comic, which I guess is our world, and the sort of parallel universe of Outback / Pangea. But again, in the real world, he's just a bum. There, he's a Savage Land-esque superhero. The characters can sort of travel back and forth from these worlds, although mileage varies on their memory of what's happened, where and when, and it changes as the story progresses and more things are revealed. Now, there's way more to it than that, but for the sake of this video, the one I'm currently trapped in, that's as far as we're gonna go. But I now really want to revisit the Maxx in depth, so maybe I'll do that sometime soon. Or not soon, because I'm really slow at this. Mr. Gone also has ties to Outback and can travel back and forth at will and really just taunts and torments Julie. And Maxx is endlessly devoted to her protection. But that's just context. Let's talk about this comic book. It's written by Andy Mangels, with layouts by Chap Yape and pencils by Gabe Abarello. As always, apologies to names. I mean, My name is Josiah Goliu. People say it wrong all the time. So sorry. Rob Liefeld is credited as creator of Troll. In this case, is at the bottom of the page. In the other Troll comics, he's credited at the top. No, I don't mean to shame Rob or anything in any way, because in each of the other comics, he is credited, like I said, at the first. He's the first listed on the credits. And I just happened to notice the difference because I read everything preparing for some deeper exploration of Troll. And just happened to notice it because this was the last one I read in sequence. No deeper thoughts on that, just an observation. But I noticed it, so I thought I may as well share it. When I met Rob, he's been a super nice guy. And sometimes he likes me to post on Instagram, so that's good. Or my comments. Doesn't follow me or anything. Maybe he will after this. Unless I speak ill of Troll. Which I don't think I do. Do I? The title of our Halloween special is Gone But Not Forgotten. Things open up with Troll apparently torturing a dude in a giant cauldron. I'm not sure why, and I'm hoping we'll find out. Some random people come up. Initially, they want him to move to get a photo. Now, the comic doesn't really make this clear until the end, but they are in a kind of museum. For now, you do kind of get the sense that this particular torture scene isn't real. All that isn't really important, you just kind of need to know that it's not a real torture scene. It's kind of like an opening gag where you think Troll's torturing someone, but he's really not. Because you get this nice opening splash panel where he seems to be torturing someone, but he's not. It's just like they need to like go to his next Youngblood related appointment, I think. And then the family shows up, wanting to take a picture with him. The family realizes he's part of Youngblood. Youngblood fans know they have this kind of merchandise themselves kind of element where they like have t-shirts and toys and all kinds of stuff like that, which, you know, that makes sense and kind of predictive of certainly comic books. It was in that trend anyway, but it certainly exploded with movies in the last 10 years or so to an exponential degree. I mean, you could argue that this stuff like bankrupted the industry at the time, but that's like a whole nother thing. The family wants a picture with Troll. I also say I do like that they initially just wanted to like take a picture with the Black Cauldron.
Soon the Black Cauldron will be mine.
Then the mom recognizes the superhero celebrity. Maybe she's not a big fan as she doesn't quite know his name. But hey, he's like a famous person, so she like recognizes that he's a famous person, and it's that kind of like, oh, that guy's famous. I don't remember who he is, or I know he's from like that famous thing, so I want a picture with him kind of thing. Like, oh, famous person. They were in that thing, so I gotta get a picture with them. Or in that superhero team. He's one of them. Which one? I don't remember, but he's one of them. As the picture stuff is going on, a blonde woman walks by. For those who know, or who watched the, earlier part of this video where I talked about the Maxx, it's Julie, the Maxx's social worker / jungle queen. One thing that comic doesn't do well is create a sense of where we are or why we're there. Like little, narration bubble, like Museum of Historical Torture, something like that. It's next to jail. Why would Julie be there? Just little things like that that could have provided a bit of context for why they would intersect. As I said, where Troll isn't fully revealed until the end of the issue, and honestly, that reveal works. However, I don't know why Troll is where he is, although these are kind of minor gripes because it's just basically a setup to get these characters to see each other so the story can begin, and frankly, that part kind of works. Although you could argue that they don't really need to see each other at all for the story to work. Which I just realized because that part's not in the written script. Troll sees a blonde girl he recognizes and chases after the cat. The blonde girl returns to her apartment and has a large homeless man who thinks he's a superhero. Or is he a superhero? 12-year-old Josiah still hasn't sorted out how all that works.
Brainstorm!
Maybe the characters in my young adult novel, The Paperboy, will. A gripping story of friendship and loss set in the mid-1990s. Daniel, a local paperboy's life changes as he discovers the body of a young boy, the Corpse Boy. They bond over their love of characters like the Maxx, and an unlikely friendship forms, as they must then discover the truth about what happened to the Corpse Boy. Now available, link below. The Maxx is also reading books. Ones he found at a dumpster, mostly horror, which the Paperboy also is. Mostly paranormal, mystery, but with elements of horror. I think of it as a superhero story, so I guess it has that in common with the Maxx. Anyway, one of the books that the Maxx is reading features Jack the Ripper. And besides, I already did my plug, right? So can't do two that close together. The Maxx sees something that causes him to pause. Victim number 7 is Julie. Upset, she rushes into the bathroom to barf, but ends up in 1888 London. She's in a back alley, which is fitting for a Maxx comic, but hey, wait a minute, this is a Troll comic, right? Just then, Troll shows up and informs her that they're not in San Francisco, and there is no Snapple, not until 1972. It's key to point out that the reason I gave some of that context to the Maxx is because you need to understand how Outback works, not the steakhouse, the Outback of the Maxx, because the way they travel back and forth, and I'm not entirely sure whether or not the Halloween special here breaks the rules of the Maxx. I think it does. Troll informs her that there is very real danger about Saucy Jack the Ripper. His words, not mine. I tend to not call serial murderers saucy. I'm also not very familiar with East London slang from the late 1800s.
Naughty one. Saucy Jack, you're a haughty one. Saucy Jack.
On the next page, we meet Jack. Not that Jack.
Wait till they get a load of me.
No, not that Jack.
Here's Johnny!
Also not that Jack.
You can't handle the truth!
No, not that Jack.
I think I'll have some fun with them first.
Yes, that Jack.
You make me want to be a better man.
Who is in fact Mr. Gone, the usually naked in an armchair sitting villain from the Maxx, cosplaying as Jack the Ripper. He wants to revel in his crime being perfect, so he decides to teleport out of the locker room and return later the same day. Again, I don't know if this violates the rules of the Maxx, but it feels like it might be, but not sure. But it does fit the nature of the character Mr. Gone. Mr. Gone walks past Troll and Julie, having brunch, I presume. She mentions her bulky purple superhero bunny friend. Her hazy is memory, or her memory is hazy, until she sees Mr. Gone, and then her memory is gone. Or, it's returned. I love the idea here. Having Mr. Gone have been Jack the Ripper, and how he has done or will do these horrible things to different people. And in this instant, largely just to taunt Julie and set her up for the next violent act. I know it's horrible, but it fits with the nature of his character. At least it works in the context of the Halloween special. And again, it might be violating the rules of the Maxx books.
Most of us inhabit at least two worlds. The real world and the world within, the unconscious.
Troll and Julie pursue Mr. Gone into a dark tunnel. He doesn't want to fight, he wants to taunt, which he likes to do, cackling and telling them to check the morning papers. Speaking of papers, my novel The Maxx shows up, and Mr. Gone bumps into him in the Outback. I mean, and actually, like, bumps into him. Just before that, he mutters something to himself about trolls living under a bridge. So I'm not sure if he's aware who Troll is. As I said, he bumps into him physically. Maybe that's the flaw of this book. It's romantic comedy levels of characters being in the right place at the right time, but maybe you have to be for it to be this Halloween special where you can have this kind of crossover. And maybe that's okay. Maxx suddenly finds himself in London. Maxx is arrested for killing the woman. Death letter apron, a woman shouts on the first panel of the next page. How the three cops managed to arrest him when it appears the Maxx is fighting, I have no clue. Later that evening, Maxx is in jail, and I assume those cops got at least a little pummeled. Those flaw hook things. Julie leaves. She rallies the, I'll call them ladies of the evening. Troll can't find her, and Mr. Gone is also looking for her. Mr. Gone finds Troll and sends him to Outback. He fights a weird faceless leopard shooting it with his revolver, and then those little white things, the Izzes, that turn black in our universe, swarm him. Also, Spellcheck hates them. And I am fully on board as things really start to ramp up. Back in London, Julie is telling the women to find their strength. It's encouraging. One woman says that Julie's parents must have been preachers. Still, Julie doesn't remember, still having that hazy memory. Just then, Mr. Gone shows up and says in a very Mr. Gone fashion, what you don't remember can't hurt you, but I can. Julie flees and the Izzes and Mr. Gone pin her in. In a villainous flourish, he says he controls the horizontal and the vertical, which to kids today, that means nothing. She pleads with Maxx. Back to the Outback. Again here, the pace is great. It's like editing. Like these pages are like editing scenes back and forth, like at the right moment. Maxx shows up and tells Trolls to just squash the little dudes. These two orcs from World of Warcraft with bat wings for ears show up, but then just kind of fight each other. Maybe that's a thing with those. Again, not an expert here, clearly. Troll realizes this is the purple rabbit Julie mentioned. Maxx sort of hugs Troll to teleport them back to London, and this is maybe my favorite moment in the entire book when they do this to go back. It just worked for me, and they're back in the jail. And I love this page. So, this, I said that was maybe my favorite moment. This is my favorite moment. this whole sequence, right? They're in the jail, and maybe I'm misreading it and making it my favorite moment and getting it wrong. But I want to be wrong if this is wrong, because it's implied, or at least I'm perceiving it, that he then has this, well, what do we do now moment to break out of the jail. And it seems that he then bashes the wall down with Troll's head. And if he doesn't, he should have, and it's hilarious that that's the implication. If not, at the very least, he throws Troll through the hole afterwards, which is still pretty good to itself. Although he might have just bashed through the wall with his hands, he definitely threw Troll through the hole. But I like to think he bashed him with his head. They fight off some of the Izzes and then head to Julie. We're just lucky Mr. Gone is particularly theatrical and likes to take his time. Now that might sound like a criticism, but it's not. That is a character trait of Mr. Gone. He has this terrifying way of taunting and just being creepy and weird and making you afraid of what he's gonna do and when he's gonna do it, because you just don't know when that moment's gonna come. And it's great, and it's realistic that he would do this and just make it, stretch it out too long. Fortunately, it's long enough that the superheroes can show up and save the day. Our heroes show up and pummel our saucy villain. Julie gets Troll's knife and is about to open Mr. Gone's sauce packet when he teleports himself back to the Max's solo series, or maybe Darker Image or something. And yes, in the end, he's naked in his armchair. Julie and Max are back in the apartment, Julie in her bathtub. So at the start of the story, when she first ran to the bathroom, she was initially going to throw up when she saw herself in the book and got all freaked out. So why is the bathtub full of water? Julie checks the book. Mary Jane Kelly, the woman we see with Mr. Gone early in the story, is now the final victim, not Julie. And again, back in his armchair, Mr. Gone mentions unfinished business with Mr. Troll. I have to assume that business remains unfinished to this day. And we bookend our story at the Museum of Torture. Troll says, "I think I saved that girl's grandma 100 years ago. Also, I know who Jack the Ripper is, but won't tell." The final panel is a sitcom gag that I both love and hate. He may be gone, but he's not forgotten. I like it because it is clever. Because again, this is a Halloween special, even though it doesn't have a great pumpkin in it.
And the great pumpkin never showed up? Nope.
I hate it. Because does Troll know? Does Troll know Mr. Gone is Mr. Gone? Does Troll know what Mr. Gone has done? Does Troll know that Mr. Gone is like out there now in his world and time? Is he? Like, how does all this work in the shared like image universe at that time? I don't know. If so, he needs to finish that business. That dude's done some awful things. Okay, so the overall take on this. It's not a Troll comic. It's a Maxx comic. Well, it's a Julie comic. She's the focus as much as Troll. Troll is almost more a framing device more than anything else to tell Julie's story. I mean, if it's a Maxx comic, it's really a Julie comic, because if you know the story, which I'm not going to tell you here and now, it's really her story as much as it is his, maybe even arguably, it's her story. And therefore, if it's a Julie comic, it's a Maxx comic. So, this is a Maxx comic. The art is by no means bad, but it doesn't have a surreal combination of pure grit and cartoon style that Sandpeak has, nor does it have the Rob Liefeld image comic style of other Troll comics. It's more in line with Marvel of that era, like something you'd find in like Spider-Man or the Avengers or something. And again, not bad, but just not as unique, which maybe for image of that time, making it look less like the other image books makes it more unique. Because it doesn't look like Jake Lee or Mark Silvestri or Rob Liefeld. So maybe that is more unique. I think I just talked myself into that one. However, when I see the Maxx, I want to see this. No offense to the talented people who gave us the Halloween special. And I don't have any deeper thoughts, because I enjoyed this comic, other than to reiterate. I don't see it as a Troll Halloween special, it's really more of a Maxx Halloween special. But a true Maxx Halloween special would be far less light and fun, way darker, challenging, way more provocative. It would be too painful, all too real. It would be about the repression of our pain, how we mask the hurt with superheroes, and how that can manifest in unhealthy ways, and yet how it can connect us with others. For me, right now, I need this lighter version of a Halloween special. Maybe in a year, I'll be in a different place and need something darker, more Maxx-centric. Maybe in 2 years I'll need something lighter than this. But for now, this is where I'm at. So thanks for the Troll Halloween special. Even though it's still really a Maxx. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment on this video that I had no idea which direction it was going to go with. It was fun to revisit the Troll, and I'm definitely going to go back to the Maxx and Troll and all this stuff, and go back to Image Comics and have a lot more of this stuff, because I loved this stuff as a kid, and it's fun to return to it like I returned to Zen, returning to Troll, returning to the Maxx, and returning to Youngblood, and all these Wildcats, all these comics that I loved. It's good to be back home with these characters. Thanks to everybody that created them. Good, bad, and in the middle. I spent a lot of time with these guys. Thank you to all these people who made them. Bye. Happy Halloween! Unless you're watching this in November, because this is barely getting posted in Halloween. And final plug for my book too, because it's heavily influenced by these things. And still using the spooky voice. And if you buy the book, leave a review on Amazon. It helps and means the world to me. It all means the world to me. And my family. And that's not a joke. For real. My kids appreciate it. That's sincere. I'm gonna go now.
I did a lot of stupid things in my life, too.
Stupid? What do you mean, stupid? Just wait till next year, Charlie Brown. You'll see